Okay, so we would like to pull up the Citizens Review Committee with IPR. Can we come up as well?
Sure.
Okay. Hello, thank you for coming.
Hi, so my name's Julie Ramos, and I'm on the Citizen Review Committee, and I get really nervous when I talk in front of people, so I'll either start talking really fast or really soft, or just shout out if you're not understanding something I'm saying. I want to briefly kind of go over what the CRC is and talk about our subcommittees and some of the work we've done, and then leave time for questions. Our meeting is actually the first Wednesday of the month, so we have to kind of shoot out of here after I get done. So, let's see. And I want to make sure I get it right, so I'll do a little reading. CRC was created in 2001 to help improve police accountability, promote higher standards of police services, and increase public confidence. These volunteers serve as an advisory body to the Police Bureau, Auditor, and IPR, which is the Independent Police Review. In early 2014, City Council voted to expand CRC from 9 members to 11 members. CRC members are appointed by Council to perform the following primary functions: to gather community concerns about police services, develop policy recommendations to address patterns of problems with police services and conduct, review and advise IPR and IA, Internal Affairs, on the complaint handling process, and hear appeals from community members and officers and publicly report their findings. Recently, we were also finally given authority by the City Council to be a voting member on the Police Review Board. We have several work groups, outreach, which I'm a part of, the directive work group, which works with the directives that the police department put out every once in a while. They have a really narrow window to give feedback, and so we're trying to get more intentional about how we give them feedback in terms of changing some of the directives. The reoccurring audit, use of deadly force, crowd control, and CRC membership and turnover. And our next recruitment would happen in the spring of 2016. Last month, the July meeting, as a new member, was really helpful for me. I did my first appeal, the appeal hearing, and I think I felt very positive because I felt collectively we were able to push back on the way the decision was made and the findings and actually have our voice heard. I think we still need to do some work on how the community member experiences the whole process. It can feel pretty bureaucratic and administrative. And then I also, last week, heard my first case on the Police Review Board, which was an experience. I've never been in a room with so many officers. Let's see.
Do you mind if I jump in with that piece? Irene Conan with the City Auditor's Independent Police Review. So the Police Review Board, to balance that, has hired, again, through new authority, through City Council, a mediator whose job it is to make sure that everybody's voices feel heard, so that there isn't a power imbalance. In the past, before this new ordinance was implemented, basically the Police Bureau were running the Police Review Board meetings, and they were running them as well as trying to participate in them, facilitating them as well as. And so we went to council and asked for more money to hire an independent mediator. So now that mediator's role is to make sure there's a balance and everybody's heard and everybody gets to vote. But I honor that ways.
Yeah, and I think both when we hear an appeal and when we go to the PRB, we have access to the full file so that we're able to review it and ask questions for an appeal. If we feel the investigation is weak in some areas, we can send that back to have more investigation done. We can get questions clarified. I think I think over the, like, since 2001, the effectiveness and the authority of the CRC has increased. And, but anyway. And when I was listening to you talk about kind of what your goal's gonna be, I think one of our goals is, because there are a lot of groups in the city doing different work, is that we actually start talking to one another about what everybody's doing. And so we're all volunteers, we all have limited time, and you know, sometimes in numbers, we can get things through that we might not necessarily as a single group. But I'll stop talking. Questions?
I'll just reflect directly on that. I met with May, your chair, and one of the things we did talk about was what does it mean to bring kind of all the, we've called them in the past C groups together, COAB, CPRC, CLEAR, CRC, and all the others that are out there. And as I've looked deeper into what it is that the Human Rights Commission is set to do, the idea of convening folks together has certainly been top of mind. It's something that we will do, and I think May was extremely excited about it. I look forward to that happening, and I really appreciate the work that you guys are doing as a whole. And I think an aspect of that convening is certainly not to duplicate anything. I think it's to really understand where, like, if we were to map out what's happening, where are the gaps, where are the places that we're oversaturated, and then what does it mean to build agency amongst all of these groups to really be able to sit in front of the decision makers and say, this is where we notice that you have availability to make some change, and we all want you to do it, and we're asking you to do it as a whole, and that really be a place where you can build power and belonging in the work that we're doing. And so thank you for coming here and just kind of sharing what it is that you guys are doing to all of us. I don't know if it would be helpful for us to come and do something similar. We'll have to do the same thing, kind of come early and then maybe leave, and just kind of send a few commissioners out. But I think the idea of open communication between us and what the space and place that we, exist in, we look forward to continuing to work.
Well, we could actually have you on the agenda at 6:30 when our meeting is over, because our meeting runs till 8, and we can play around with the agenda and make sure that your meeting isn't lost, but your voice is heard. We'd love that. That would just be awesome.
Yeah, I really welcome any of you to attend our meetings like you. All our meetings are public, both the work groups and our monthly meeting. I'm not sure when our next appeal is coming up, but we do quarterly have meetings in the community, so just pay attention to the address.
And the next one's actually going to be at the Key Center.
Right.
Any other questions?
I just want to say that I'm Sam Sachs, the chair of the Committee Police Relations Committee. And I just want to say that I think we can do a better job of building relationships and communicating. I think some of your members are in our last CPRC meeting, which was great. But I think there are things that HRC and the CPRC can do to support your efforts and accountability. I think the authority, I've said this for a long time, I don't know how much authority the HRC has. With the CPRC, we have a good relationship and communication with the chief of police, the assistant chief. We have police members that serve on that. So I think there's different ways to accomplish the same goal. And the more we communicate and kind of strategize what we can do to support your efforts and vice versa, I think would be really important. And, all I can say is it hasn't happened yet. That's a failure on the CPRC, but looking forward, I hope that that's something that can happen in the next few months, so we can start to build that relationship and have better communication. That's my commitment, for sure.
So actually, I wanted to ask, I'm Alan Razzo. I'm actually also a HRC member of the Community and Police Relations Committee. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about, because it seems like your group has a dual role around hearing appeals, which is a very administrative, formal function, as well as work groups that seem to be sort of somewhat community-focused and bringing community voices into the bureau process. It's kind of a little bit of what we do at CPRC. So that seems more like what's done at CPRC, whereas you also have this role around hearing appeals and serving on PRB. So how do you weigh those two functions? I'll let both of you answer that. are they 50-50? Is appeals and administrative pieces 75% of what you do, or how do you view your mission?
I guess I don't know if I could even divide it like that. I think we hear appeals when there are appeals. Sometimes there's a bunch, sometimes there's none. So when there aren't appeals, we do all the other work that we have to do, which is all those subgroups. I shouldn't call them subgroups, work groups. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does, wait, 'cause I wondered about that.
We're always doing.
So how many appeals do you hear in a year?
Well, actually, this year we only had one.
Oh, interesting.
Last year we had an appeal every time, it felt like an appeal every time we had a meeting, a CRC meeting. I mean, it wasn't that intense, because there's also this other part where there's a pre-hearing, where everybody comes to the meeting, explaining that they have read the file and that they've all understood that there's an opportunity to ask questions. And then the follow-up meeting is an actual appeal. And so last year felt like we were just, kind of going through appeal one after another. And so to answer the second part of your question, when we recruit volunteers, one of the things that we had to strategize about is that we wanted to diversify our CRC pool, our CRC membership, and we also wanted to reach out to a younger group of people. And so right now, the majority of our folks who are on the CRC actually have jobs. And so our priority is the appeals, because that's, there are protocols, it's authority from the city council. That's the number one role, is to hear appeals. Gathering feedback and making policy recommendations are really important, but they're more, from our perspective, they're less of a priority. And of course, as you said, when there aren't appeals, there's a great opportunity to work on these issues.
So is your decision binding in an appeal? So the appeal is it's an appeal of a decision that was made by.
So there was a complaint, and it went through the whole investigative process, and they came out with a finding.
They meaning.
The
Police review.
No, the officer's commander.
Oh,
came up
so
with a
within the bureau.
finding.
So it's a bureau
It's
decision.
a bureau decision.
Okay.
And so we are, the complainant is appealing that finding. And so we can agree with the finding or disagree and give our reasons. In this last appeal, we disagreed, gave our reasons. It went back to the police chief and he agreed.
With
So
you guys?
changed.
So that's a
Here.
process.
Yes.
But if you didn't, you would go to city council.
And city council is the final arbiter
Right.
of those two decisions, one that's been made by a bureau command staff or a bureau supervisor, goes all the way down to that level.
So the chief agreed with the appeal.
Yes.
So if it ever goes before city council, when there's a private session, or not open to the public,
All of these are open.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's open to the public.
And that's only happened once, it's come close a couple of times. And I should also add, all of the complaints that we receive, whether it's a community member complaining or internally, all of those go through our director. He has to be satisfied, he can contribute and send it back to the.
But that's not a CRC function, right? CRC itself is not collecting complaints, IPR is collecting complaints.
I just wanted to compliment you. I've gone to 2 of the IPR kind of community presentations on what it means to make a complaint, and they've been very well attended and so informative. I think that people that come to these don't know, like, how does, if somebody has a problem with the police, how do they make a complaint? And so your presentations have been really, really helpful, and your outreach has been good too. You've gotten the word in the community, and I just compliment you on that, because that's not easy to turn people out. And when people leave, they're much more educated than they were before they got there. So.
Yeah, I mean, another part of my, one of the things that I've been doing, being on the outreach committee, is I spend a lot of time in the community to just trying to educate people about the process and that they have a voice and how to go about it. So I was over at Street Roots a couple of weeks ago, and anyway, the committee just tries to hit all the different groups, especially those folks that are pretty marginalized and don't have a voice.
What about like groups that are actively speaking out against certain things like Black Lives Matter or AARP or Cop Watch?
They come to our meetings pretty regularly, especially Cop Watch is always there.
And then we also had a meeting for the use of deadly force, group meeting that we had in the auditorium, because we came just to voice.
Well, thank you. I don't know, does anyone else before we?
I have some cards here,
Perfect.
if you want to get a hold of me or Irene.
Seattle, do you have something you want to ask?
It's actually a proposal for the group.
Can I send down, we're hiring an investigator, so if you know of anyone? And then our next info session is, I'll send that down as well.
And Seattle, you said you had a proposal you're thinking?
Yeah. If, when there's more questions, right?
I think you were.
Okay. So they said, you all said we did a meeting coming up on September 1st. What I'd like to propose is that the HRC, and I'd be happy to support this, especially, support the commissioners that are serving on the CPRC, but that we commit at this point to having an Administration of Justice Summit where we explicitly pull together all of the groups that we just talked about, or at least identify them in a proposal, and that we bring with us a proposal for an Administration of Justice Summit when we go to the meeting on September 1.
I second that.
Can you say that one more time, please?
Okay, so the proposal is to bring a draft Administration of Justice Summit proposal to, or with us for those who can attend their meeting on September 1, to talk about a summit pulling together all of these groups that deal with the administration of justice broadly as we have defined it in our retreat.
I'd like to support that because I think one of the things that's valuable about that is that it would become transparent and it wouldn't be just a couple of people that were trying to manipulate some new thing. But that would be an opportunity to have really full and good discussion about administrative justice issues which the public wants to focus on.
For when would the summit be projected?
I think it would just be a draft. I don't even, so sometime in the next year. I mean, I think what we would need to do is probably, like we would do with the CRC, is go out and meet with folks, bring the draft proposal, ask for any additions or modifications, and then come back to this group. So as many folks as possible who are serving as commissioners, especially folks who are leading the CPRC, take the lead on reaching out to those organizations or bodies and say, hey, we'd like to have this Administration of Justice Summit. We'd like your engagement, or we need your engagement with this, and what do you think of this draft? So it wouldn't be anything that tonight we would say, oh, we're gonna have it in 4 months, but yes.
I see that we could probably also pull together the stuff that we, like the roundtable materials, because that's really what I think this is kind of like looking like. It's going to be in a way another roundtable. But we would have to be setting up meetings. So I think with this, let's at least propose a time for us to meet and draft this stuff together.
So I think we are all spot on. I think one of the goals that we talked about with May as well, who's their chair, was that the bringing together of folks was extremely important. And I also want to make sure that we bring folks who aren't considered commissioners, who are just folks who feel like they're activists, and folks who don't feel like they fit into the bureaucratic kind of fold of what it is that we do, so that we can be as informed as possible. And then I think the goal really for this summit would be to map out what's happening, where is there action, where are there holes, and where can we build kind of a collective consciousness around what we're doing, and then go forward with that, and then talk about the work that needs to happen. And I think IPR and CRC, you guys have huge pieces in that whole map of, and I guess I would go back to when I started talking about the idea of the administration of justice and what that sounds like. We're talking about justice and having it be that, which is way more than just police and law enforcement stuff that has to do with incarceration and prosecution. And so we're really talking about bringing together everyone, not just the folks that work with badges that you can see. And so the administration of justice work as a whole is really what we're talking about. So I think there's a place in this time where we can, in between now and then, really say, who are you? Do you feel like you're doing this work? Let's come together. And I can say that I know that folks who do and are the decision makers, not just from here, but in other places, are interested in hearing what a group like this is talking about. So that's promising. And groups from outside of Portland as well are interested in being able to influence what that looks like and talk about what that looks like. So, did you have something you wanted to say, Irene?
I just had a clarification and then a question. So the clarification is that it's the first Wednesday of the month, so it wouldn't be September 1st, it's the first Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
And then, is it the first?
Today.
Okay.
Just a second.
Yeah. So the other piece of that is that I wanted to ask, because this meeting, the next one's going to be at the Q Center, and your folks would love to come and present, would it make more sense to put you down on the agenda at 7 rather than at 6:30?
Yeah. Well,
Yes,
I have a
or-
quick travel time.
Yeah.
I have a question. We've done a couple meetings in the community in the past too, and they're usually really we try to focus on the community we're going to meet with. Will this be interrupting anything you guys are doing with the Q Center, or, okay?
Thank you for that clarification. Go ahead.
So I actually have a question. Because we're using the same words, I want to make sure we're not mixing our internal administration of justice piece that we need to sort out. It's not mixing with this piece, right?
I think it is this piece.
Oh, it is? Really? Okay.
I think we would, and I think what we should do is probably reach out not only to some, I mean, I think there's probably some work that a subset needs to do, but I think this is a good first step in understanding all of the folks and being that convener.
Identifying the groups would be one of the first steps that we wanted to reach out to include.
So I want to keep us moving on our agenda. I think we're all on one accord that we want to do some great work, and we know that there's some great partners. And I think coming at your meeting will be one of the first steps one of the steps. We'll be doing work between now and then for sure. And I think that we can call a separate meeting for commissioners between now and then to make sure that what we bring is relevant and on the second, not on the first. So thank you guys so much.